Hey everybody, welcome back. Last week, a few days where there wasn't any videos. I went on a little trip. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm getting back into the swing of things. I don't know about you guys, but when I travel, it takes me a few days to kind of catch up on sleep and get back into the swing. As you guys can see, it's cloudy and raining again. Oh, the mosquitoes are absolutely, they're something. They're insane right now. Last night, I put the lights on and I mowed the pack 40 in the dark till about, I think I shut her down about 11:30, just trying to get the yard work back into the swing. Anyhow, I want to have a quick look at the mower, and then we'll talk about where I went, and then let's talk about should we reuse the piston in the 026. I put that question up in the last video of it, and a lot of you guys said you would reuse it. Some of you said you wouldn't. Well, let's have a look at it and just talk about pistons. Oh, she was wet last night. I don't like mowing when it's wet, but a lot of times I have no choice. That was one of the reasons why I picked this Kubota mower. It'll go. This thing will go in the worst conditions and mow and give you a pretty good finish. And this is what we're left with. Now, I left the belt cover off. Not the safest thing, but nice thing about this machine is you can't get off of it with the deck running. It's got a safety on the seat, which is still hooked up. I left the cover off because you guys remember I changed this belt in the last video. This thing mows way better. It doesn't slip or anything. And I didn't realize how bad that belt was until now I have a new one. But anyways, I was talking about in the last video that I think this belt is going to rub. Now, I'm not sure. I got to check the specs on how to adjust this again, but I have this pretty tight. You can see the look at the bugs, friends. They're just absolutely everywhere. Flea beetles, all kinds of little things. I have this belt really tight and it kind of flops around while it's running. I showed you guys that on the last video. And I said I was kind of worried about it rubbing this. Well, you can see there's already a little line there. It's hitting here. So this week, whenever I get a chance, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on. It may either be this bracket needs to be bent down slightly so that the spring is below, or I might just flip the spring around. Now the tail will be up then, which I'm a little nervous about, but and then also I could tension it more. Again, I'm not sure the tension specs on this, but it is rubbing on there, and this belt is tighter than the old one was, but for whatever reason, it's rubbing. So, and I'm sure the old one rubbed and lasted 10 years, but you guys know me. If I can make something better, I will. So, anyhow, let's go sit at the bench. I'll tell you guys where I went. Before we yak about where I went, I'll just hit that briefly. I don't know if you guys can see, the mosquitoes in here are absolutely horrendous. I had the shop door open last night with the lights on. I shouldn't have done that. I should have closed the door. The mosquitoes all came in here, and there's probably 1,000 of them in here. And I'll be swatting them because they're big, angry, and hungry this time of the year. And it's more than a fella can take. So we got big mosquitoes up here. With the amount of rain we've had, it's rained 3, 4, 5 days a week for the last 5 or 6 weeks here. And it's not good. It's not good for construction like I'm in. And it's definitely not good for the farmers around here. A lot of fields are bare. There's nothing in them. I've never seen this before. So we went from being in a little bit of a drought to now we're flooded. So anyways, friends, last week I only put out one video. I went on a business trip with my, my day-to-day job, and I ended up in Houston, Texas. Shout out to the folks in Houston, Texas. Lovely place, great people, great culture, and their food, their barbecue. We went to a seafood restaurant somewhere in Houston. I'm completely lost when I'm in a place like that. And they served us crab and shrimp. Wow, like fresh. Oh yes, sir. You just don't get that where I live because we're so far from the sea. And followed it up with a Texas steak, and oh yeah, their barbecue down there is ridiculous. So anyhow, that's what I was doing. I'm back now, just trying to get back into the swing of things. Nice thing was, I was in Houston, and my buddy Caleb, one of the guys that runs my saws, he lived about 20 minutes from where I was. So he actually came on, what night was it, friends? Wednesday night. He came and picked me up, and we hung out for about 3 hours. And you know what was cool? It's like we've hung out before because we've been yakking on the WhatsApp for like 5 years, you know, almost every day. And it was just funny. I hopped into his truck. It's like he was a buddy that I hang with all the time, and we just went places. So I finally sent him my 460 that I built. Better late than never. I ran it a few more times, and anyhow, friends, long story short, I mailed him the 460 and it showed up on Thursday. So we'll hopefully get some video of him running that saw. He's already put some miles on it. He did a job yesterday with it, and he said it's incredible, and he's really, really happy with it. So thank you to everybody that hangs out here, because you guys make stuff like that happen. And that saw would have happened either way. That was a replacement for his Echo, the 590 he sent, that didn't work out. I told him I owe you a saw, and of course, him being the kind of guy he is, he's like, no, you don't. You're just doing me a solid by working on that, and it didn't work out. Don't worry about it. But it was bothering me, friends, so I knew when I found the right saw for him, particularly an 046 or a 460, that I would mail him one. And that way I could be square in my mind. So anyhow, Caleb, good to meet you, buddy. And hopefully next time I'm down there, have a little bit more time. We can go sawing. Okay. In the last video, I spoke about whether you guys would reuse the piston from this saw. Now, first things first. If you don't have any money, you're on a tight budget, believe me, I understand. When I started working on saws, I was on tight budgets. You might have to reuse a piston once in a while. In fact, that Super Pro 70 that I built for Buckin years ago, the McCullough that I ported, I reused the piston and rings on that. Why? Because I couldn't get one. And we did that, and it's still running. It's fine. Now, that piston did have some wear on it, but we made a decision that to go forward on the project, we'd have to reuse that piston. So this video, let's just have a quick look at this and decide whether we're going to reuse this piston or not. This piston is in pretty nice shape. Could be better, could be worse, but I'm going to bring you guys in and let's have a close look and compare it to the new Meteor piston and see if there's any difference. Okay, first things first, we got our original cylinder, piston, a brand new piston. So I want to talk about reusing pistons. You don't always need a new one. It's always nice to slap a piston in. But let's face it, chances are, a lot of times, if you're redoing your saw yourself, you may be a feller that doesn't have a lot of money. And that's okay. Through hard work and luck, I can get pistons now, but there was a lot of years where I didn't have the money to replace pistons. Let's have a look at our cylinder first. Nice small combustion chamber. Few little marks, but nothing I can feel with my finger. You can see those small lines there. Transfer sides are, well, nowhere. You guys can see those transfers are horribly blocked. See the discoloration? Right here, look, nothing's ever touched there. That's the factory hone pattern. Kind of interesting. Now, I don't know what we're going to do with this saw. I may widen this and go on the journey that we've been going on lately, which is widening the transfers. We may try that on a small saw. Now, I may not be as inclined to do that on this saw because it is so small, but we'll decide that probably in the next video. Intake side, a little bit of scoring. Again, put your fingernail in there. Can't feel any of that. And I'll probably just hit this with some sandpaper or a hone. I'm not even sure if I have a hone this size. I'll have to look at my hones. I don't think I do. So we may do this one old school. Okay, but the cylinder looks perfect. So that's the first step into, okay, you always have to check your cylinder, because if you're replacing your cylinder, you're replacing your piston generally, right? You're not going to put a used piston in a new cylinder. At least I wouldn't. That's just my opinion. So that's the first thing. Is your cylinder good? Yes, it is. Now let's move on to the next part. This piston, has wear. You can see there's like rub marks up and down on it. Okay. This is your intake side. You know that because your pins, your locating pins are there. Okay. Sorry, my bench is really dirty still. I left it before I went to Houston. Okay. Intake side. Right here, you know this thing's eating a lot of sawdust. Probably a dull chain, but maybe a poor air filter. First things first is feel. Is it rounded on the bottom? If this is really sharp, you know that this is worn. These are beveled or chamfered. You can see the chamfer right there out of the box. If there's too much wear on the piston, that chamfer will be gone, and you'll know right away to get rid of it. Well, this one still has a chamfer. Okay, let's look on this side. Usually, most of your wear is going to be on the exhaust side. Now, at face value, there's not really any scratches here. You guys can see the discoloration? This thing was sitting with the piston at top dead center. Now, the reason why is the recoil was busted on this saw. I'm pretty sure it was this one. And I couldn't pull it over, and somebody broke it and it sat on a shelf. When it came with a broken recoil with the rope done, I knew chances were that this was going to be a runner, because the recoil broke, and a lot of people don't know how to rewind recoils. We can do a video on that when we're doing this saw. Okay, I'm going to get right in here. See if, oh, there we go. Beauty. Okay. Here's your machine marks. You guys see? Look, right here at the bottom. Those are machining marks, and they're pretty consistent top to bottom. That's what holds oil. Okay? They're very fine. They're maybe a few 10,000ths deep. Half a thousandth deep. Whatever they are. Okay? Those hold oil. Those are part of your piston. Okay? We see them on this side. But we don't see them as much. They are there, though. You can see them right here. But from here down, this area, there are none. So there's your first sign that you have wear on your piston. Okay? There you go. See the light here? They're there. See where the light is? From there down, there are none. So there's your first sign that you have wear on your piston. Now, quick and easy way to check. Now, smaller bore, you're not going to get as much slop, right? So, stick it in there and try and wiggle it. If it wiggles back and forth quite a bit, you know, it'll go click, 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 click in there. You probably need a piston. This one, you guys can't hear it or see it. You just got to trust me. It's got some slop to it, okay? Not a ton, but enough, okay? So right there, this piston does have some wear. It doesn't have enough slop to scare me, okay? Now, let's look at a brand new piston just for reference. This is a brand new Meteor. You can see machine marks all the way around, both sides. Okay, so you know right there that this is a brand new piston. Drop it in there. Okay, some guys will cover the spark plug hole or stick something in there. And what you can do is, see, look, see how it drops nice and slow? That piston is a good fit. Let's see how this one drops. It's about the same. This one starts making compression. Seems like a little bit sooner, but so realistically, this piston's brand new. We're going to put it back in the box. So the question was, would I really use this piston? Yeah, I would. 100%. I would get rid of these scuffs that are here just a little bit. See, it's scratched a little bit. In my own saw, 100%. I would put new rings on this and I would reuse it. This piston has wear, but it's not worn out. It's probably 30% worn, maybe 40. It's not horrible yet, okay? For an occasional use saw, if you're a firewood cutter and you go out cutting with your buddies a couple times a year, or you remove a couple trees a year, literally this saw will last you for a long time, okay? So, yeah. A lot of you guys said you would reuse this. 100% you could. But here's the thing, friends. I'm not going to. When I do a saw, I like to throw the kitchen sink at it. For the price of this piston, I don't even know how much this costs. I could look it up on Wolf Creek. Can't remember what these list at. They're probably like $30. For me, it's like, I'll just go new. No signs of trouble. But that doesn't mean I'm telling you guys to put a new piston in every time, because here's the part number. Remember, this is an old style 026. It's a 44 millimeter. You can see 43.96, 44 millimeter piston. Okay. The newer ones, I think it's 44.7. Now, around here, the new ones all have decomps. The bigger cylinders have a decomp. Every 044 or 026 rather that I've ever built, if it has a decomp, it's the larger bore. Now, I don't know about in your region. It's like a lot of you guys are saying your 026s have a metal handle and a metal chain adjuster. Well, here it has to be an 026 Pro. And then it would have the metal chain adjuster or chain oiler. I've never seen an 026 with a metal handle here. But apparently they exist because a lot of you guys say you have them. So, and again, I want to refer back to this. Okay. When you put your finger on here, this is sharp. Okay. There's no bevel left here. It is super sharp. You can cut paper with it probably. Okay, this thing was worn. The corners are sharp, the bottom's sharp, and guess what happened? It caught the intake on the way down. It caught the intake and it broke. Okay, that's why you want to replace your piston, because that's what will end up happening. Also, when your piston starts to get sloppy in there, you will hear it. Okay, you'll get piston slop. It'll be a metallic sound. Usually at idle, and it'll go ting, 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 ting. You could hear it in time with the motor. Okay, my 562 was horrendously bad. And then the last thing is, when your piston starts to get on the side where you should replace it, well, what ends up happening usually is your rings usually are really worn at the same time, and what ends up happening more often than not is you end up having a saw that loses compression, and they can often be hard to restart, and they're not a good deal. So again, the reason why you replace a piston like this is so that you don't get to this stage. The next stage for this piston is this. Okay? Could you run this? Yeah. Would it last a while? For sure it would. So it just depends. If you have the money to replace it, replace it. If you don't, know what you got and keep track of it. You will have to replace this down the road, but it'll be fine for now. And again, I want to use an OEM cylinder, and the only way I can do that is the only way I can do that in good conscience is to put a new piston in this, because I don't want to damage this. These aren't as common as they once were. Okay, well, I hope that helped you guys make the decision about whether you're going to reuse a piston or not. It's really up to you. I'm not going to tell anybody they're right or wrong. If you don't have the money for a piston and you just need your saw going, have at her. I've done it. Or maybe you can't get parts or whatever. You can reuse a worn piston. The one for this saw is not horribly worn, but it's getting there. So, both groups of people were right. The not using the piston were right, and the reusing the piston were right in this case, I think. In this case, though, I am going to put a brand new Meteor piston in it, because this saw is going to go to one of you guys out there, and I want to lessen the chances of it having to get shipped back. Remember, friends, I don't do work for locals. Rarely do I ever do work for locals. My saws are going to go, 1,000 miles plus away from me. I want to get ahead of any problems that can occur, and in doing that, I don't have to worry about the saw coming back. So, anyhow, thanks for watching. Take her easy, and I'll get back into the swing of things this week once I get all my chores done. Later.